Okay.
Oh, now the cat keeps nudging my hand when I'm trying to use the mouse. This is going to be fun.
Indeed, yes. Okay,
Oh no,
so
she's walking on the keyboard now. Oh my God.
okay, tell me if she's walking on the keyboard. Tell me if voiceover turns on, because cats seem to love turning on voiceover.
Wow. No, luckily I think I managed to persuade her not to press the magic keys.
Command
Oh, my
F5.
word.
I don't know why they like pressing Command F5, and then we've got voiceover. Hey, so is she okay with my mentioning her name on the live stream? You know, just
Oh yes, I think so. Definitely on the live stream. Yeah,
I
no
have
worries. Well,
permission.
we've mentioned her several times before. So
Yes. Oh, I have. Yes, Princess. Yeah. Well,
indeed,
Prince.
indeed.
For,
And she's
just
molting
before
fur
clicking
everywhere
live,
as well.
there is a catastrophe going on at the moment in the UK. Everyone, a catastrophe. It is.
Absolutely.
It is quite horrific by all accounts.
We've had all sorts already. We've had the cat nudging my finger on the mouse. We've had the cat walking across the keyboard, molting fur everywhere. She hasn't squeaked into the microphone yet, but she may do that later.
It is, so we have humanity. What would be the feline equivalent? Would it be felinanity? Oh, the felinanity. That was horrible. Horrible. That was
Absolutely.
awful.
Well, I've got my my can of Monster juice as well
That'll
to
keep you up.
revive me and wake me up and so on.
That'll keep you up for sure.
Fresh from the fridge.
Fresh from the fridge. Freshly squeezed. Well,
Absolutely. Yes.
not
It's still
not
quite
an
warm here.
endorsement. Not an endorsement. They are not a sponsor.
Oh, indeed. Yes. Well, yeah. And
MacStock is, on the other hand, somewhat of a sponsor.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes.
Yeah.
You're sponsoring yourself, which is the best way. Excellent.
The absolute best way is to sponsor yourself. When you can
That's
get
it.
nobody else to sponsor you, sponsoring yourself is the best way to go. No, that's not true. I had an amazing partnership. So I'll mention this at the beginning of the show, but we are now back from our MacStock hiatus, right? And we just had a phenomenal 4 days in Crystal Lake at the Alara Conference Center. In fact, for the next episode, I've invited my MC, Brian Henson, to join us, and I might try to get one or two other folks to come on and just kind of talk about their experiences at MacStock. But it was a great week.
Oh,
and,
that'll be cool, especially for me because, of course, I wasn't able to hop over the pond. So it'd be great to catch up to see how things went over at MacStock. I did tell one of the people at our local Apple store about MacStock, and they were very impressed. They were very intrigued about what goes on there and who comes down to meet up and everything. So yeah, they'll be interested in that as well.
Well, okay, so one, I was muting my microphone because I wanted to make sure it wasn't coming from my end. There's a clicking going on in the background somewhere on your end.
Is it me?
It's like a clicking or popping or something going on.
Can you still hear it?
No.
Cool. It might just be traffic because it's that particular time of day.
The traffic pops on by. Pop, 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 pop. It might be your microphone. I don't know.
It might be, but
Yeah, I hear it now.
we'll see.
It's almost like a snapping or a popping or something.
Oh, I know what it is. Right. I know what it is. It's me being daft. Right, here we are.
Well, don't be daft.
This is,
What are you doing? What is that?
It's not like a
trying to
cellular
stay
bag.
cool?
Don't worry. That's it. That's from the fridge to cool the desk, and occasionally.
There's no staying
That makes-
cool here, Darren. We want to watch you melt into a puddle of goo live.
Well, yeah, that's possibly likely because there is no aircon in the UK, well, mostly. So yes, we do tend to melt into a puddle when it gets even remotely warm.
Speaking of phenomenal volunteers, we've got Mr. Brian Flanagan Arthurs, who's joining us in the chat room today. Brian has and always is a tremendous help at MacStock every year, and this year more so than ever. We could not have pulled off the book signing. Well, I mean, I suppose we could have. All right, that's a little bit over the top, but we couldn't have pulled off the book signing Friday night with David Pogue if not for Brian's help. It was just a tremendous help, and really appreciate it because it made everything run so much smoother. He was pitching ideas for how to make the lines move better because we had folks who pre-purchased the book, we had folks who wanted to buy the book. So we set up 2 different tables. I think Brian was running the table where people were picking up books that they had purchased, and then Janet, my wife, was running the table where people needed to purchase a book. Anyway, everything went amazingly smoothly. He was on for 5 hours. 5 hours.
Wow.
Not only did he give an amazing presentation, but then he stuck around so that every single person felt as if he were there for them. Such amazing, generous individual Mr. Pogue is, and so glad he could come out to MacStock this year.
I'm a big fan. It's a shame that I missed it. One day I'll catch up. One day I'll actually meet in person, perhaps, and say hi to Mr. Pogue.
There was someone from the UK there, Darren.
Oh yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So we had someone from the UK. We had someone from a couple from Canada, Netherlands, of course. Our friend Martine comes every year. All over the States. Fantastic group of folks. One of our largest grouping of attendees in several years since pre-pandemic. So it was fantastic.
Excellent.
Okay, so we have our episode oops, I didn't mean to enlarge that. I am bigging something I didn't mean to. Here we go. There we go. Okay, that's a little better. I made your face just a little too big there, Darren.
Oh yeah, we don't want to zoom in on the crevices and creases and various signs of age, shall we say.
Signs of age. But we kind of traded some notes ahead of time on the topic this episode. I think I keep seeing Princess's tail come in off to the side, off to your left. Is she coming in off to your left?
No, she's nowhere to be seen at the moment.
Perhaps
she's whizzed off into another room.
Perhaps it's I know what it is. I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. It's the reflection of the vehicles going by outside. That's what it is.
Oh, yep, there you go.
Yep, the shadow. I thought it was Princess's tail.
Well, that's it. It's the height of summer here, and that means it's bright, really bright outside. Yeah. It's like perfect daytime, blue skies, lots of hot weather.
We're back to hot weather for a couple days. We had a really pleasant week last week. Incredibly pleasant, nice and cool, mid to upper 70s. No rain, sunshine every day, just wonderful weather. But the week before that, oh my gosh, we were just melting for weeks on end. And now we got a little bit of that melty weather back again. And we'll see how the next few days go.
Potentially next week for us as well will be a little bit melty. Although not as bad as the first 3 heat waves we've had this year already.
They were bad. I know they were very bad over there. Like you said, AC is not a common thing in many parts of the UK.
Not common, yeah. It's mainly our buildings are on the older side. They're not generally designed for keeping the heat out. They're more designed for keeping the heat in, which makes it a little bit more tricky. And then also adding a proper aircon unit to existing buildings is quite tricky because we don't necessarily have the space for the outside component of the aircon. And if you don't have the outside bit and you try to rely on some of these portable units and so on, you're not going to get very far. In fact, you sometimes end up pumping a lot of hot air back into the room, which doesn't help.
Now, I don't think I'm giving anything away when I say this. Your building is a former mill, is it not? I think you shared.
It certainly is, yes.
Yeah.
Used to be a flour mill back in the day and was converted to flats. Oh, can't remember when now.
I think it was
yeah,
the 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's got a very interesting history. It's technically, well, I suppose a lot of it's been rebuilt, but it's the place itself is or the site anyway, is hundreds of years old.
Crazy.
So yeah, I don't have a balcony, so I'm not able to put any retrofitted aircon systems in. So yeah, and a lot of places are like that in the UK, so it's difficult for us to retrofit aircon.
Not that I'm a much of a student of architectural history, but you'd think as a mill that part of the earliest design of the building would have been to kind of keep things cool in there, but maybe the water flow helped with that. I don't know.
Yeah, it used to be. Yeah, that's right. Used to be lots of stone slabs and natural cooling. In fact, at one stage, I think the building I'm in was used for creating ice back in the day when it was very difficult to make ice, and they used to saw off massive ice blocks and haul them to the local butchers just around the corner and so on. So it was a supplier of ice as well back in the day. So
super cool. Back
yeah,
when folks
production
had
of ice back in the
when folks genuinely had ice boxes and needed ice
that's right.
delivered to keep things cool.
Exactly. A big old slab of ice dragged up the street.
I'm old enough that we still call it, we call it the fridge usually, but ice box. I grew up calling our refrigerator the ice box because that's what my dad called it. And in his youngest days, they had an ice box in their house.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, amazing. Okay, back to the notes here. So we talked a little bit about the episode and what we wanted to entail. I did get an email we both got the email, I think, from Eric with some of his own feedback on what he would mention if he were so I threw a couple of his thoughts in here as well. I have a little intro to the topic, and hopefully it's relatively accurate. This is a little bit of an area that I'm slightly outside of my expertise, so I did a little research on this particular approach to the topic, and hopefully I'm accurate in what I say. But so I have an intro, and then I thought maybe what we could do first before we bounce back and forth. In fact, we can bounce back and forth on this very first topic if you would like, are some of the basics, some of the things that just about everybody should turn on.
Perfect, yeah.
Or potentially
some
turn on.
of the things you've mentioned, I'm not entirely familiar with either, so I'll be learning a few of those. So that's really good.
And vice versa. There were a couple things that Eric mentioned that I'm like, I don't use that, and I really should. So, yeah. Okay, well, what else is going on in the world of Darren before we start recording?
Wow.
How's that new iPad?
Oh, yes. I had really good luck. I mean, we could say on the show if you want to, but
Absolutely.
I had some really good.
If you want to.
Yeah, I'll be happy to say that. Yeah, I had particular good luck with my iPad purchase. I just happened to be wanting to upgrade or side grade, I suppose. It's not. I suppose some people may think that changing over from an iPad Pro to an iPad Air would potentially be a downgrade. But I didn't see it that way. I saw it more of a side grade or an upgrade, especially since my Pro was quite old. But yeah, I lucked out remarkably there, and I got the timing exactly right. I bought exactly the right thing at exactly the right time. So there's a story there.
There is a story there, and I agree with you. The iPad Air, especially leaping forward as many generations as you did, is not a downgrade at all. As you said, it could generously be described as a side grade, but I think you're probably going to
Yeah.
get at least as good, if not better, performance from that Air than you did your old iPad Pro.
Oh, that's true. I mean, yeah, that's right. But it's not just performance. It's like you would think that the screen technology, of course, in the Pro line has improved dramatically.
Yeah, yeah, true.
But because of the age of my iPad Pro, things have moved on in the Air sector. So that means that the new screen of the Air is very similar to the older high-end screens of the Pro. So
Amazing.
from a screen's point of view, I don't really notice too much of a difference. So the only thing I did notice, and I've very quickly got used to, is the speakers. Because of course the Pro has lots of lovely speakers on it, lots of very high quality four speakers in there, and the Air has two slightly lesser quality speakers, but not so that you'd be really bothered too much by it. So yeah, I've got used to it really, and it's been perfect. It's a perfect purchase.
Are the Air speakers only on one end? Is that the deal?
That is a good question. That is one of the things that I was going to ask you, funnily enough, because whilst I've been playing with it, it's been tricky to try to figure out where the speakers are actually located, depending on where you put your hands. So I'm not entirely sure, actually. So you certainly get less of a surround sound effect, that's for sure. But
I've got. Sorry, it disappeared for a second. I was going to grab my Pro, which is old, a very old iPad Pro, 10.5 inch. So boop, quite an old one, but it's still functional. It can't be upgraded anymore, but it still does what I need it to do. And I wanted to look at the speakers, and I do indeed have two speakers on the charging end, and then there are two speakers on the other end, which you probably can't see, but
yeah, certainly on the Pro there are four speakers, well, the new Pros anyway. So I don't know where they're situated on the current Air. Sometimes it can be a bit deceptive because, say for instance, if you look on the bottom of your iPhone, there are two sets of speaker grills.
Yeah.
One of them is false. So they're just holes that look like a speaker grill, but there isn't a speaker behind them. So
okay, so
you can be tricked.
we need to go down a little rabbit hole here, because I had a really lovely conversation with Mr. Pogue after his presentation that Friday at MacStock, and one of the apocryphal stories that he did not share is one that I've always been curious to know if it's true. Sometimes these stories become true just because people tell them over and over and over again. And the story I was asking about, and he didn't know the answer, but he knew who to ask. So I'm hoping he does ask and then get back to me on this. But remember the white polycarbonate iBooks?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
right. Well, the story goes that when it was presented to Steve Jobs for the first time, in fact, Brian in our chat room was there when I was asking this question. When it was presented to Steve Jobs for the first time, he kind of picked it up and looked it over, was kind of examining the design of it and everything, and kind of angled it towards the designer and said, "Put two screws on this side, here and here." And the whole reason he said put two screws on the one side is balance. There were two screws on the one side. He wanted two screws on the other side to provide symmetry.
Quite right.
Right?
Quite right.
So now I know for a fact that those two screws on the one side are false, because I've disassembled one and I know that they're false, but I don't know if the story is true or false. I don't know
Right.
if it was
Yes.
Steve Jobs who said, put those two screws there, or if some designer just said, let's put two screws there to make it balanced. Who knows? I don't know. I was really curious if he knew the answer to that.
Excellent. Yeah, I did see something, a clip from Steve Jobs on stage saying the famous words that the back of our computer looks better than the front of the other guys.
Yes, yes, that's true. That is very true. So you and I both lucked out on our purchases because we both purchased new Apple hardware, and I believe yours was about a week before the price increases,
Wow, and
roughly.
I was even closer. Yeah, mine was about 3 or 4 days actually before the prices went up.
And
So,
mine as well. I needed a new presentation MacBook for MacStock. So I decided to pick up
perfect.
a M4 MacBook Air. And
Oh,
the
nice,
old,
nice.
yeah, the old MacStock presentation, it's kind of the same path as you. So you went from an iPad Pro to an iPad Air, and I did the same thing. The old presentation MacBook for MacStock was a MacBook Pro 2018 Intel MacBook Pro, which used to be my primary Mac, portable Mac, I should say, until I upgraded. And that was the presentation. And unfortunately, as time went on, it could still run PowerPoint, it could still run Keynote just fine. But some of the presentations that people put together just brought it to its knees. And so either I have to ask my presenters to create less complicated presentations or provide them more beefy hardware to be able to handle it. So I decided, okay, an M4 MacBook Air would take care of that. Compared to a 2018
Perfect.
MacBook Pro,
Yeah.
M4 MacBook Air would take care of it. So I picked up from their refurbished store a beautiful M4 MacBook Air with 512 gig storage, and what is the default memory? 24 gig or whatever the default memory is. I don't. I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
24,
16, I
right?
think.
16, whatever it is. $849.
I know.
$849. Fantastic
It looks
deal for that.
amazing now, doesn't it?
And what, 4, 5, 6 days later, boom, prices went up.
Boom.
Not only on the new Macs, but I was shocked that
Yes.
Apple raised the prices on the refurbished as well. Now, I kind of understand why they had to do that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I'm not terribly surprised.
but come on, man. These things have been sitting on your shelf for a while. Really?
True.
You can't
But
blame
you
the
know what would
memory
happen?
increases on that.
Everyone would stop buying new and they'd all pile onto the, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Apple couldn't really do that. They
Yeah.
did have to raise the prices in line. I'm
But
not
we both lucked
entirely
out.
sure if they raised them at the same rate on the
It was substantial.
refurb store.
It was substantial,
Okay.
but regardless. So lots of third-party sellers, but even the third-party sellers are starting to boost their prices. You know, they essentially got permission from Apple to raise their prices, and so they are. So there you go.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
I hope it's
yeah.
temporary. I was thinking about that last night. I don't know why I was thinking about that last night, but how my brain works, I guess. But I was thinking Apple can't really back down now. They can't. They've raised the prices. They're committed
That's
to
right.
new pricing for whatever new Macs come out this fall and in the spring. They're committed to that new pricing. They can't introduce half the lineup in the fall at higher prices and half the lineup at lower prices in the spring. So they're kind of committed to it. The next
Yeah.
opportunity to lower prices is going to be the fall of 2027, really.
I
So
think what they did is probably very sensible because it does look like a very, very large increase
500
initially.
bucks
But I
on a
think what,
studio.
well, yeah, exactly, very large. But what that I think means is that they'll have room
Wiggle room.
in the future going forward for the next 2 or 3 releases to keep the price at that level. So they won't have to keep on doing the very unpopular thing which Apple really doesn't like doing,
They
which
don't.
is announcing price increases. So I think what they've done is they've introduced higher price increases than they actually needed to to build in a buffer over time for the next 2 or 3 releases of things so that they could keep the price at that level.
I just hope that they find a way to bring the prices back down again. I honestly don't know.
I think the whole planet has a problem with that at the moment. Yeah.
Whole plan. Micron's complaining that, just to call out one company, is complaining that Apple wants to go with this, restricted RAM supplier from China. And they're complaining, oh, they should be going with us because we're made in the U.S. Well, Micron, you're part of the problem. Micron is the company that decided not to sell consumer-grade memory and storage products anymore because they wanted to focus on
the AI companies instead. Yeah,
they wanted to focus on the enterprise. They wanted to focus on the giant server
data
farms
centers
and all that.
Yeah.
Well, they did, and because those server farms are sucking up all the memory, the prices have gone up. So they're part of the problem. You can't complain that somebody's trying to find lower prices to help bring consumer level products back down to sane levels. Sorry.
That's it. And also, when you're a company of that size and you're negotiating worldwide billions and billions of chips to sell, naturally the negotiations with a large buyer like Apple will be at competitive prices. So you can't really complain that the bidding process has happened at that competitive price, and then the world has changed a little bit later, and then go back and complain at Apple that they were trying to beat them down to a lower price, which is what companies are supposed to do.
and I'll admit my little rant there was overly simplistic. Okay, let's just put that out.
Oh yeah,
the
there's a
very,
big
very
rabbit hole there. Yeah, to dive into.
Yeah,
RAM
there's a lot
prices.
more there.
Oh, and storage as well. I mean, it's affecting storage as well worldwide.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the prices of the latest PlayStations and other devices, PCs, anything you buy really. It's all been affected.
All been affected. Speaking of storage, and then we'll get on to the show. Speaking of storage, a client of mine, former client, I guess. I mean, once in a while they reach out to me these days, but she's retired. And reached out to me yesterday and sent me a video of some stuff they have sitting around that came from the company that she worked for before. And one of the things was a new super drive in the box. And she said, should I just recycle this? And I'm like, no, give it to me. So I've got
I'll take that off your hands.
I've essentially got a new super. Now I do have a super drive. I've got a couple external optical drives, but I do have a super drive in the cabinet to my right. But it would be nice to have one for the office as well because it's a fantastic optical drive. Obviously, Apple compatible.
I can't remember the model I bought, but I don't think they're sold anymore. But it was a super slimline slot loader. External optical drive. It was a Blu-ray writer, all sorts of really cool, driverless, no issues, plugging it into any machine. It's fabulous and 100% compatible with not just macOS itself, but some of the specific things you needed back in the day for iMovie and iDVD compatibility and so on. So it's got all of that as well. So I particularly lucked out there with that purchase.
I think that's, it's the biggest issue.
I'm not sure if I can look up which one it is.
That's the biggest issue with the super drive is it's not Blu-ray, and it's certainly, let's see, it does do writing, but DVD writing. So it's
DVD writing. This one's a Blu-ray writer, so I got a really good deal with that one.
And I do have a Blu-ray external. That's one of my optical drives sitting around here. Is I've got an external, not a slot loading. Slot loading's kind of cool. It's a tray loading, but an external slimline tray load Blu-ray reader writer. And admittedly, I don't burn a lot of Blu-ray discs. I just don't. But it is fantastic for ripping them. So
indeed, yes.
There you go. All right. Shall we get started, my friend?
That sounds like a very good idea.
Yeah, get on with it, Mike. Come on.
Oh dear.
33 minutes in. Okay, 33 minutes in. Here we go. Into the recording, I should say. And it was about 33 minutes into the live stream, too.
Cool.
All right. So, episode 475. Oh, all right. Yeah, so this is interesting. I have way more than this, but but mostly Disney says I only have one optical drive left. Yeah. I have to surround myself with optical drives. I don't know why. I don't use them that much, but I have to surround myself with them.
I only have one optical drive. Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic
I
channel, by the way, but mostly Disney. Check it out if you haven't. If you're a Disney fan, check out that channel. Really great.
Absolutely. Well, you can't beat some of the Star Wars things coming down the line, and that has already come out. Well, like the fabulous Mandalorian, of course. Shout out to Mandalorians.
Have you seen that? Have you seen Mandalorian and Grogu? Grogu.
Grogu.
I've got one right up there. Why did I mispronounce his name?
No, I haven't. I do have it in on mine to jump in. I might buy that actually. I'll probably buy that. I have a nice Apple movie collection on iTunes. It's strange, isn't it? Buying movies on iTunes, but the name is stuck. I suppose it's is it the Apple Store? Everyone thinks of the Apple Store as being an app store. So it's like, what do you call somewhere that also sells movies? So iTunes is a name. It's sort of like stuck.
It's called Blockbuster, Darren.
Oh, I see. Yes.
So Blockbuster actually they didn't purchase, but they found an abandoned Blockbuster, and they set up one of their Blockbuster experience locations within the abandoned Blockbuster. Kind of cool.
Oh, that's brilliant. I would go to that.
How meta. How meta.
Yes, you could get your codes for your movies from here.
That's right.
From a physical store. Go and get your codes. Mind you, that's what the buying a game for the PlayStation is going to become at some point. You'll be just going to a shop and getting a box of a code in it, or not even a box at all.
Wait, what are you saying? A box of what?
With a code in it. The cat's
I was hearing you say a box
again.
of code. I'm like, well, we essentially are getting a box of code, Darren. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I mean, Sony's recent announcement, which they may or may not roll back, which says that physical media is dead and they'll no longer be making physical games.
They're
anymore.
wrong. They're so wrong.
Well, yep. They've not rolled back yet. They're still saying that they're not going to release anything physical anymore.
Well,
which may or may not come to pass.
Yeah. So, Brian mentioned with increasing, I put it up there a moment ago, with increasing prices, having an optical drive is definitely useful. I will tell you that another a fantastic source for optical discs of all kinds, DVD and Blu-ray, are your local thrift stores of all kinds. We went into a Goodwill a week ago, and I found on the shelf for $3 a still wrapped in a shrink wrap copy of James Bond's Skyfall.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
This was, how many years ago did that movie come out? 2012. So 14 years old. Inside the shrink wrapped Blu-ray case was a code for a digital copy that claimed it would expire in 2015. Well, as I often do, I said, hey, let me just see if this works. I punched the code into Apple TV, said redeem a code, punched it in, boom, bingo, bango, I've got my copy of Skyfall digital in my library.
Excellent.
So don't necessarily pay, this is my lesson that learned, is don't necessarily pay attention to those expiration dates on the codes, because many times, even if they do expire, they will reactivate the codes later, I found. I've had codes that expired, and then like 6 months later they work again. So
that's absolutely right. I mean, I can sort of beat that slightly, because we have a specialized thrift store over here for technology, would you believe? Called, I've probably mentioned them before on the show, they're called CEX. And they sell retro systems and all sorts of things. But they have an enormous section of games and discs and so on. So they've got like a whole row of PlayStation 4 games, for instance, that you can go and grab the discs for. So it's quite a big emporium, but it's really good because they also sell second-hand reconditioned stuff. So you can go and sell your old tech there, and they'll be reconditioned and then resold.
That's pretty cool.
They're resold with a really good warranty as well. So
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, this is really crazy. You can go in and you can get like an old Nintendo console, and it will come with a 5-year warranty. Would you believe?
I would not believe that. You say, would you believe? No, I wouldn't believe that.
Exactly, and you can take it back for repair. It's a wonderful place. It's
Wow.
A technology emporium for anything old and some new stuff as well. But it's really a really good place, especially to go and buy things like discs and older games for your console. So that's the other thing. I mean, when you go in and you can buy a bit of a retro console from there with your lovely warranty. You can also buy all the games for it, sitting on a shelf, like the old days.
Okay. I promise we are now going to start recording. I promise. But you just triggered something in my head here. I want to talk about these things as soon as I get the second one. So this is called a GB operator. Okay. GB operator.
I
heard
know
about these?
I think I know what that is. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I also purchased the. Here it is. Oh, here it is. This is it. This is the GB operator. Okay.
Oh, that's exactly the one I bought.
You did get it? You got it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's my Game Boy cartridge. Ka-chunk.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And now,
There you go.
through an emulator on the Mac, I'm playing a genuine Game Boy cartridge.
Genuine cartridge. I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is freaking amazing. And I purchased the SN operator that is on its way to me, allegedly. And they've got another one coming too, 64 operator, I think it is. They just announced it. I'm buying all of them. This is absolutely fantastic. Now, the one that they don't have is for these guys.
Crikey. Oh my God.
Yeah, right? So I want one of these. I want one for this. Although
Fantastic.
the actual
That's the thing that people
players.
don't often mention, especially if they mention the Mac being a poor choice for gaming. They often forget that it's one of the absolute best platforms for emulation.
Fantastic for emulation. But to be fair, this puppy here works on macOS, Windows, and Linux. So it does work on all of the platforms.
Absolutely.
So, in fact, it'll work off of your Steam Deck. Steam Deck?
Yeah. But
I have to be careful not to say Stream Deck.
From a software point of view, it's quite amazing how well supported the latest emulators are. For instance, almost all of them have native Apple Silicon versions, and they've all been coded and actively updated they're just fantastic. The emulator situation on the Mac is superb.
Indeed. You would have liked my talk at MacStock on bringing new life to old hardware. Maybe.
Oh, I would have done, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that would have been. Okay, let's get on with the show. Here we go. I said we were 33 minutes in. We're now 42 minutes in, which is what we do. But we're going to get started. Here we go. Ready?
Okay.
Yes, we're ready. Okay. Starting the show. 475. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. It's For Mac Eyes Only, episode number 475 for July 26th, 2026. Cutting the Curb. Hey everyone, welcome back to For Mac Eyes Only, the show for the Mac community, where we share our thoughts and opinions on current Mac news and events. And joining me after our own little international break, Macstock style, is Darren Davies. Hello, Darren. How are you?
Hello there. Excellent introduction.
Thank you. And no gold trophy. I don't see a gold trophy. So I guess you got knocked out in the early rounds, huh?
Oh, you're talking about sports.
Yeah, international
I see.
break,
Yeah, here we go. Yes.
all that.
I
okay.
see, yeah. It took me
all
a while to get there.
right. We all get there eventually. And hey,
tough crowd. I know.
I did. I'm sitting on my microphone cable. I did want to give a big shout out to Jeff and Zach of Creator News Live. They hosted me on their show this past Friday. We had a fantastic discussion about building an audience, community, and how a little old podcast like For Mac Guys Only could eventually lead to something like Macstock. And I have to say, I want to give Jeff a particular shout out because I was super impressed with the cheat sheets that he produces. I kind of seen them before, but when it's about the show that you were on, you can really identify how cool this thing is. It breaks down important salient points from the episode into, various categories. It was 5 pages, a 5-page cheat sheet that he generated from the episode. And it was fantastic, and even had some little tasks for people to perform as they were working their way through the sheet. Super cool. And he told me in the email that part of the tech to generate it, or to generate it automatically, he told me he wrote part of it at Macstock while he was there, which was pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
And of course I had to say now he's just showing off. But
showing things. Yes, absolutely.
I did have a fantastic time. Their channel is at youtube.com/@creatornewslive. But I'm also going to have a link to that episode in particular in a playlist on the For Mac Guys Only channel at FMEO TV, or youtube.com/FMEO TV, under a playlist called Guest Appearances. So if you are interested, check that out. And remember, other than our Macstock break, we do normally record For Mac Guys Only live on YouTube the second and fourth Sunday of the month. And if you would like to come hang out, ask questions, and be part of our live studio audience, be sure to subscribe to the show at youtube.com/FMEO TV. And if you are joining us live on YouTube, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the chat room over here to my right. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to drop them in there, and we will try to address them here on the show. Well, it is great to be back in the saddle, as it were. We are well on our way to the release of Snow Tahoe this fall. And I know we are. Yeah, you like that? Yeah, Snow Tahoe. That's really what it is,
Absolutely.
honestly. But we'll talk about that some more. We'll talk about that in the coming weeks. But we've got a few other things planned before that time comes. And that would include a little wrap-up of Macstock 10 with a couple special guests in our next episode. That's what we have planned. But this time, as they often do after Macstock comes to a close, this episode's topic came about by way of a talk at Macstock by two-time presenter Chris Cook. Now, the topic didn't come about necessarily because she spoke about universal design or inclusive design, and the benefits of doing that specifically, but because within her talk, she mentioned the curb cut effect. Have you heard of the curb cut effect, Darren?
No, that's a new phrase on me.
Well, for those who don't know or realize where that term comes from, it refers to the proliferation of, unsurprisingly, cuts in the curb to accommodate gradual ramps in the sidewalk at street corners.
Oh.
Right? And they were originally intended to assist wheelchair users to better navigate across streets and back up onto the sidewalk again without needing to battle, often unsuccessfully, a curb after reaching the other side of the street, right?
Got it.
And while they were a relatively new disability-friendly feature in the early 70s, in 2026, they're found everywhere. Curb cuts are all over the place. And we're also finding these little tactile patterns on those curb cuts, which help people also navigate those curbs. And we've all seen them. We've all seen them. And more importantly, we have all used them, as have folks who are pushing strollers, delivery carts, and even those who might be toting luggage behind them.
Absolutely, yeah. Well,
And the
funny enough,
phenomenon,
we have a lot of those here as well, but they're not called curb cuts because our curbs are called pavements.
your curbs are called pavements? I thought
Yes.
it'd be something weird like, KERB, because, in the UK, you always have to spell things differently. Or I should throw a
and
U
add
in
some
there
extra
too,
syllables.
actually.
Yeah. Throw a U in, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Back on track.
very
Anyway,
good.
so the phenomenon named after these amazingly simple yet incredibly useful ramps is called, yes, the curb cut effect. And it is a phenomenon that applies to far more than ramps in the sidewalk. It applies to seatbelt laws that were passed to help protect children, but ended up saving hundreds of thousands of lives of both adults and children. It applies to closed captioning, which is a feature I find myself turning on more and more frequently these days. It applies to audible pedestrian crossing signals. It applies to public smoking bans and bike lanes. Heck, it even applies to telehealth, which was originally intended, as I recall, it was originally intended to help those in rural areas. But in recent years, especially post-pandemic, it's been adopted by nearly everyone for quick, near instant medical advice before deciding if further steps or treatments are necessary, right? So in other words, the curb cut effect has become a term that applies to all manner of design that's intended to benefit one segment of the population, yet ends up benefiting everyone. And in fact, our Macs and our iPhones and other Apple devices aren't immune to the curb cut effect either. And that's what I wanted to chat about today. Now, Apple has long been known for baking accessibilities into their product, not as an afterthought, but as a core feature, something that they are designing around, not something that they bolted on later. So for many folks, the iPhone, which is a portable assistive device that, also happened to be a phone and an internet device and a music player, well, it was a revelation to be able to carry in one's pocket a device that can better open the world to you because Apple took the time to think about everyone at the moment of inception was practically unheard of. Heck, I'd say it was unheard of without spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on a single-use device, which was, we'll admit, just one device in a stable of many that you would have to lug around with you. Now, much of that same technology fits in your pocket thanks to the iPhone. And there are no signs of things changing. In fact, with the advent of Apple Intelligence, it's really only going to get better in the months and the years to come. Now, on Apple's accessibility page, Apple says, the best technology is designed with everyone in mind. That's why our products and services have built-in features to help you create, connect, and do what you love your way. Our long-standing commitment to accessibility is fundamental to everything we do. So, it's accepted that Apple is well known for their accessibility features, and there are literally hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people who use those features every day. In fact, according to the World Health Organization, here's another quote for you, there are an estimated 1.3 billion people who experience a significant disability. And that 1.3 billion people represents roughly 16% of the world's population, or roughly 1 in 6 of us. So, I don't think it's a stretch to say that 1 in 6 users stand to benefit from Apple's built-in assistive technologies. That's a huge
Absolutely.
market. That's an incredibly huge market, and it's one that Apple pays very close attention to. And because Apple makes the effort to pay attention to that market, what we're discovering is that all users of Apple's devices are finding features that may be intended for the 16%, but they're features that we can all take advantage of. So, the idea came to me, let's discuss a few of our favorite accessibility settings in macOS and iOS and how we use them. How's that sound to you?
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great to me, yeah. When I was initially reading your first list, I thought that there are a couple of things on there that we naturally use and didn't even realize were an accessibility feature. But yeah, so some of us might be using some accessibility features and not even realize we're using them.
I think that's absolutely very true. I think that people probably go in, turn on, maybe, the way it works these days, going into settings and searching for a feature, searching for a particular functionality that we're looking for, and finding it and turning it on or off or adjusting the settings. We don't necessarily know where those settings are kept within this grand app called settings any longer. It used to be pretty easy.
It's got a bit
now
more
we have to search
complicated
for
than it used to be, yeah.
It's a lot more difficult than it used to be. But I wanted to start with a couple of the basics, some of the things that I think you were referring to just a moment ago that people may have turned on or maybe don't realize they can turn on, but could greatly benefit from it. And the first one that I would mention is one that we have mentioned on this show many, many, many times before, and I find it incredibly helpful, and that's Zoom. The ability to quickly zoom in on a section of your screen by holding down, in my case, the control key and scrolling the mouse, right? And that is a feature that you will find under accessibility, and then everything under accessibility is categorized, right? So it's categorized by vision, hearing, motor, speech, and then kind of general accessibility features. And this one is categorized under the vision section, and it is called Zoom. And the default modifier key is Control. So when you want to zoom in on part of your screen, you hold down the Control key, and then you, in my case, scroll the mouse. And you can zoom in very quick. It's great for demonstrations. It's fantastic when you want to show off part of your screen or what have you. And that's how I use it. I use it to in my presentations to show off what I'm talking about at any given moment. Now, I did hear from Eric. I want to hear how you use it in just a second, but I did hear from Eric, and he uses it a little bit differently. Instead of zooming in on the entire screen, he enables the loop feature. So you can set it up to be full screen, split screen, or picture in picture. And he refers to it as a loop, but it's picture in picture. And it just creates a little box so you can move it around and zoom in on just that part of your screen. It's like a little magnifier you're holding in your virtual hand, as it were. But I find it super useful. Do you use Zoom yourself?
Yeah, I use Zoom quite a lot. I use it in the same way as you do, I think, with the modifier key. There's a few other nice customizations in there as well. So you can change whether it's panning around with your cursor or whether you have a push to the edge of the screen to push into the larger view window. So you can customize how the Zoom works in that way. And I was going to mention it also, but you've already mentioned it, that what Eric does, which is to have a separate window for a zoomed portion of the screen, so i.e. a picture-in-picture view of the zoomed area. So yeah, there's quite a lot of flexibility there in the customization settings within that zoom feature. You can like make it your own to suit what you're doing.
I'm glad you mentioned the what happens when you move the pointer to the edge of the screen and things like that, because as we talk about many of these different accessibility features and how they might be useful, or how we find them useful, I should say, I definitely encourage people to dig around in all the features and find something that works well for you. But in our case, Zoom works really well. And I'm glad you mentioned pushing to the edge of the screen, because in a lot of these, it's an on or off type feature, but several of them have an advanced button, and that's what Zoom has. It has a little button under all the other settings to turn on or off the scroll gesture, or change the modifier key or the zoom style. There's an advanced button. I love the advanced button. I want to see more advanced buttons throughout macOS. But under the advanced button, that is where you can control what happens with the zoom image. Does it move continuously with the pointer? Does it move when the pointer reaches the edge, which is how I have it set up? Or do you always keep the pointer centered? And then there's tons of other settings, like restoring the zoom factor on startup, or smoothing the images, or flashing the screen. Oh, this would be handy. I should turn this on. Flashing the screen when notification banner appears outside of the zoom view. Yeah,
oh, that's clever. It seems like they've thought of everything. That's very impressive.
They've thought of freaking everything. It's so cool. But a lot of times you have to click on advanced to get to those extra features. Yeah. So just something to be aware of. I wanted to mention also under accessibility, and this would be under the display setting, and I know you think I'm going to mention reduced transparency, but I'm not. Well, okay, I will mention reduced transparency. So when Tahoe came out, and a lot of people didn't like the glass effect, the common advice was to turn on reduced transparency, and it's an accessibility feature that I have had on for many, many years, because I do not like the translucent or transparent menu bar. I don't care about the dock. I just don't like the transparent menu bar. So I would always turn on reduced transparency. Well, we all know that maybe not a lot of care was taken with, liquid glass in macOS as it was in iOS. But when you turn on reduced transparency in Tahoe, things just get messed up. Like the control center and other stuff just gets totally messed up when you turn on reduced transparency. And there's no granularity to it. It's either on or off. And so I've just taken to turning it off and then adjusting my wallpaper, so I always use one that gives me a semi-opaque menu bar. I've had to work around it.
You mean cheating?
I'm hoping that Snow Tahoe brings some finer control to how reduced transparency works in terms of...
Yes, there is finer control in Snow Tahoe, definitely, yes.
So I'm looking forward to that. But while I did mention reduced transparency, I'm not going to mention reduced transparency. Instead, I'm going to mention the enabling of show window title icons. Now, if you recall, in older versions of macOS and OS X prior to it, the title of your window that you're in your Finder window would often have a little blue folder next to that title. The folder was an icon to represent the fact that you're within a folder, right? And that folder is incredibly handy when you have, let's say, a file open dialog box or save dialog box, and you want to quickly jump to that folder you have open over on that other screen. You want to quickly jump over to that, but you know that folder is buried multiple levels deep within the Finder, and it's going to take forever to browse to it. Well, when you click and hold and drag that blue folder icon, in my case it's blue, blue folder icon over to the open or save dialog box, it instantly pops over there. I gave that as a quick tip on the show in the past. Instantly drops over there. And if you don't have the folder icons turned on, you can still do it, but it takes longer because you have to move your cursor over to it and hover and wait for it to appear, and then you can drag it over. Fine, cool.
I use that
elegant,
as well, actually,
but
occasionally. To if you can not only drag that over to a file save dialog, but you can drag that over, for instance, into the terminal. Say, for instance, when you're jumping into a directory, rather than typing out that enormous directory path, you can just drag and drop it into the terminal, and your directory just appears.
There you go.
In text.
Yep.
Perfect.
Super cool. So there is a setting to enable or to show. It's called Show Window Title Icons. There's a setting to turn that on, and that's under Accessibility and Display. So as you're tooling around trying to figure out how to reduce transparency in Tahoe, take a look, search for, okay, we're almost done with Tahoe, Darren. We're almost done. We're almost up to Snow Tahoe. Things will be better, and I can finally upgrade the last of my Macs to something current. And you won't have to hear me complaining about it anymore. That's the promise I've been told. I won't have to complain about Tahoe anymore after Snow Tahoe comes out.
Well, that's it. You can have a nice opaque view of liquid glass, and I can have a nice clear view of all the.
That's right. Just a little slider.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be really nice.
Choose
I can't wait.
what we want.
I can't wait. And they're finally going to fix the sidebar and all the other stupid stuff that they broke in Tahoe. Anyhow, moving on, enable show window title icons is incredibly, incredibly useful. You mentioned one that I think is on, well, I know is on by default, but it's super handy, and it has to do with shaking the mouse pointer.
Yes. Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the main ones that came to mind when I thought earlier that people may be using accessibility features without realizing, because by default, the shake the mouse to enlarge the cursor so you can see it on screen if you've lost it somewhere and you've got a really high-res display and you've lost your mouse, and you just shake it to get it to appear. It's a fabulous feature. But since it's on by default, technically it's an accessibility feature, but it's on for everyone. So we're possibly all using it without realizing.
Yeah, it is something that I do use fairly frequently. And along with it,
as well.
I'm going to mention that while you're in there, let's say you don't like the mouse pointer embiggening while you're shaking it about, because you just shake your mouse all the time and it just bugs you that it turns on. So you want to turn it off. Well, it's under display, and then shake mouse pointer to locate, and it's on by default, and you can turn it off. But there's also a handy little slider underneath it to change the default pointer size. So you can very quickly just slowly embiggen the mouse pointer to whatever size you want it to be by default, and it will stick. And that is an accessibility setting that is not on by default.
Yeah, that is also useful when you're showing people something on doing a live demo. Having a larger mouse pointer is much better, so that the audience can follow where you're looking. So yeah, it's a useful feature for that as well, for live demos.
And while you're on it, great point, if you enlarge your mouse pointer because you're giving a demo or what have you, and you also want to add a little bit more visibility to it, there is also the option to change the pointer fill color and the pointer outline color, which in my experimenting prior to recording, I changed it to pink. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so incredibly easy to see on the screen. Even at the tiniest size, a little pink cursor moving about is super easy to see. So if you're giving demonstrations, try safety pink or safety green, or one of the safety yellow, and very easy to see. And then there's a handy dandy.
Choose some awful combinations of
choose an awful combination. There's a handy dandy reset colors button, so that if you do muck about with the colors and you want to restore things very quickly, just click Reset Colors and it will set it back to the black cursor with the white outline. So very handy. Let's see. Oh, anything else? Any other basics you would like to mention, Darren?
There's something, it's not an accessibility feature as such, because I don't think you can actually turn it off, but it is, again, it's linked to the mouse cursor. The cursor will change depending on where it is within a window for the window of that thing. So, I mean, when I'm remote desktoping to a Windows machine, I'll get a Windows mouse cursor as I move into that window, which is part of the remote desktop. But then that also changes to a Linux pointer when I move into a Linux machine. So as I go through different machines, the mouse pointer will adapt itself to whatever the environment is and the cursor for that environment, which I find pretty clever.
Is that
it's not a setting that you have to turn on or off? It's just there.
is that macOS or the virtual machine doing that for you?
It's both. So macOS has overall control of the mouse cursor, but as it moves into the environment of a virtual machine, it picks up the cursor definitions from the virtual machine and uses that within macOS as well. So it's all seamless.
Super cool. Super cool.
Yeah.
How about one more mouse thing? One more mouse thing. And then
it's the mouse show.
And that is under accessibility and then pointer control. So this is actually kind of handy because once you go into accessibility and pointer control, you can do things like adjust the double click speed, just in case it's a little too quick for you and you want to slow it down just a little bit because maybe you have trouble double clicking that icon or file or whatever to open it. You can tweak that a little bit, slow it down.
Yeah, you can slow that down. Very useful for some people, yeah.
You can also turn on or off spring loading. Now, I know you know what spring loading is. Spring loading is when you drag a file to a folder and it pauses for a second and then that folder pops open for you. If you prefer that not to happen, you can turn off spring loading, and then you can also adjust the spring loading speed, which is also handy in the same way that adjusting the double click speed is handy. And then one other thing I wanted to mention under pointer control, there's a lot of folks I've worked with in the past who have trouble with the trackpad. As wonderfully elegant as Apple's trackpads are, some folks just have trouble with them, so they like to always use a mouse. But then that trackpad gets in the way. They've got the mouse, they're typing, and their palm brushes against the trackpad and moves the cursor around or whatever. Well, under pointer control, there is a setting to ignore built-in trackpad when mouse or wireless trackpad is present. Boom. Problem solved.
Genius. Yeah.
Just don't forget that you've enabled it if you turn the mouse off and you don't have it with you.
My trackpad's not working.
There's a handy tip for you. Reconnect your mouse and you can do it. But the Apple trackpad has wonderful accidental rejection, accidental touch rejection. But some folks still have a little trouble with it. If you have a ton of trouble with the trackpad getting in your way, as it were, while you're using the mouse or typing on the keyboard, that setting might be one for you.
Excellent.
Now, I think we both mentioned the Magnifier app, which is available on the Mac and iOS. And there's some amazing functionality in the iOS version of it that hasn't quite made it to the Mac version yet. It's kind of there, but kind of not. But one feature I wanted to mention in the Magnifier app is detected text. So as you are using the Magnifier app on iOS or even the Mac, it will detect text in what you are magnifying on screen, which is super cool. And that's one thing I wanted to mention. But you also mentioned something about detected text, I believe.
Yeah, it came from funnily enough, from one of Apple's accessibility adverts, and they do some very good showcases about how some of these features are used in practice. I think the particular example was a lady in a lecture theatre with vision issues sitting right at the back.
I remember that.
And zooming in on the lecture slides and able to follow the notes and extract text from the live lecture. So very, very clever, very, very easy to use as well. So that's one of the other good things. Those features are very easy to access.
And with the Mac, you need something like continuity camera or another external camera to do that, obviously, because your FaceTime camera on the Mac is facing you, not facing the lecture hall. So, yeah, I believe every time I've seen that used, it was in conjunction with continuity camera. But
That's
it
right,
is
yeah.
super cool.
It's particularly good on the iPad, for instance. If you use like an iPad for taking notes in a lecture, it's particularly good on that as a platform because it has that rear camera and so on, and the orientation of everything is almost designed to be used in that way. So it's excellent. So best feature on the one of the brilliant feature on an iPad.
Now, I was a little disappointed to find out that this doesn't work on my iPhone because I don't have a Pro. This only works on the Pro iPhones.
Okay.
And I think it's the Pro 11 and newer, possibly the 12 and newer. I'm not quite sure which one. I have a regular iPhone 13, so this doesn't work. But the magnifier app, okay, this does work, and I'm going to demo this in just a moment. But the magnifier app has a detect feature, and this is super cool. And I'm going to try to play it for the microphone here, because if I turn on detect, it will start describing what it's seeing through the camera. This is very, very cool. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and let's see what happens. This is going to be
careful where you point it.
No, I'm going to let this go out live. Let's see what happens.
Wow.
A baseball cap and headphones on a table with a laptop and other items. A baseball cap, headphones, and other items on a table. A white device with buttons and knobs on a wooden surface. A device with buttons and knobs on a wooden surface. A laptop with a screen displaying text and images.
Okay, how cool is that? Now, I can absolutely see where and how this is used in the context of accessibility. But to be able to use this in day-to-day life is pretty amazing, and I never really played with this until recently. But here's what the new, or not the new, but the Pro iPhones can do. They can also detect doors, they can detect people, and they can detect furniture. So just by enabling the detect feature, the Pro iPhones can not only detect that there's a door there, but it can tell you how far away the door is as well.
Yeah.
As far as people
right.
and furniture.
And if it detects a human, it can also tell you how tall they are, how far away a human is. So that's also quite important for users. They end up being able to effectively see that another person is nearby and how far away they are, which is vital for someone, for instance, who's blind.
Absolutely.
It's perfect.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Now, to change, so what I demoed just a moment ago was the scenes feature, where it describes what it's seeing through the camera lens as far as the scene in front of me. But if you press and hold on the detect button within the magnifier app, you can also choose to detect text. And then there's another feature, which I'll be honest, I played with this for quite a while yesterday, and I could not get it to work. But according to Apple, this third feature called Point and Speak, if you point it at text, and the idea is to point it at signs you may come across, or elevator buttons, or things like that. Things there
Excellent. Yes,
you need a
yes.
description of what is in front of you so you can properly interact with it. The point and speak I could not get working, but the idea is to either identify text that you are pointing at, or buttons or other elements within the scene that you are pointing at. And I'm not quite sure why it wasn't working, but there you go. But the scenes description, the text description, and or text detection and point and speak are all amazing functionality of the magnifier app, which by itself is a pretty cool app because you can just point it at anything and move the little slider to zoom in on it to get a closer view of it. So that is pretty awesome. And then under settings for the magnifier app, you can do things like add controls to the screen. So I have capture and detect added to it. There's the primary controls, which you can remove or add: brightness, contrast, filters, flashlight, the zoom functionality. And then there are other controls like adding cameras, the capture mode, changing the capture mode, and focus lock. So amazingly simple on the surface application, but just chocked full of incredible accessibility features that I think just about everyone can benefit from.
Absolutely.
What would be your next pick, Darren?
My next pick. Let's see if it is on my list. Right. What did I have? Yes. Oh, well, one of the main ones that I use, and I think Eric also makes use of this one, is the speak selected text, which I find extremely useful because when I'm writing something, I quite like to use my what would be my normal voice, which you think of in your head as being the voice you write with.
Yeah.
But you're not entirely sure what you've written, and if you've written in a well flowing conversational voice until you hear it back. So that's where I select the speak selected text option, so that I can just have what I've written spoken back, and if it flows and the Mac can speak that back to me and it sounds like it makes some sort of sense, then I think, oh, I've done quite a good job there, actually, because you can easily flag up issues with grammar or errors or how you would normally speak if you get the Mac to speak what you've written back to yourself. And I find that a lot better than the grammar checkers and the other things that don't necessarily know what your speaking style is. Of course, this will change a little bit more when more AI features come down the road, because they're able to more grasp what your speaking style is. But I still prefer the speak selected text option, and then that's really good because it's system wide. So it's not particular to one app. You don't have to be in your writing app. You can speak selected text that's on a web page, for instance. That can be really handy. So you could even speak selected text in the terminal if you wanted to have terminal commands talked back to you. So that's fabulous. So you can do that from anywhere. So it's system wide. So it's a really good setting for that.
A more exciting way to use speak selected text I could not imagine, Darren. Reading off terminal commands. Absolutely.
Terminal commands are read back to you. Perfect.
That's right.
Excellent.
No, that is really handy. I will do exactly what you say. I don't use the speak selected text, but one of the skills part of the show is scripted, right? Part of it's scripted. There are things I want to make sure to say, but one thing I had to learn very early on is to write like I speak. Exactly as you said.
Yes, indeed. That's
I had to
what I
learn
try
how
to
to
do, yeah.
write like I speak versus writing for publication or writing for a paper or what have you. I had to write like I speak. So what I will often do if I write a short snippet of, something I want to make sure I hit and get it said the way that I intend for it to be said. And I guess that's what I mean by scripted. There's little bits, little elements here and there that I really want to say in a particular way, and I don't want to forget it, because I will. So I will script it. But what I do is I literally read it back. I read it out loud. And
oh, right, I see. I get a machine to do that for me because I have to read it.
And so the difference is you get a machine to do it for you. If I read my own writing out loud, I will literally stumble in spots that don't flow properly, because I'm trying to speak it in the way that I would speak it, and so therefore, if it's not flowing correctly, I'll stumble, and I'll know, okay, I didn't write that well. I've got to change something up. Maybe it's just a word. Maybe it's just a pause, because I'll literally write pauses into sentences like that. I'll put a little pause in if I intend to pause or whatnot. I'm giving away. This is all the inside baseball.
Wow.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is the behind the scenes. This is how the sausage gets made.
The vast majority of this is not, right? But sometimes in the editorial bits at the beginning, I want to make sure to say things a certain way, so I'll write it.
Possibly the odd rant or two, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe a rant or two, yeah. But anyway, so I will read it out loud. And I'm not sure, in my case, if having the computer read it for me would catch it the same way that I catch it. But I definitely can see where that would be useful in other situations, where just making sure that it's flowing audibly the way that I want it to flow would be super handy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I find that quite useful. I think I do get the idea as well when I do have something read back to me. If I haven't written it well, then that becomes immediately obvious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the Mac will actually stumble a little bit itself if you write something that doesn't flow or has the wrong punctuation or the wrong grammar and so on. So you can notice a little bit of a stumble with the Mac itself on those things as well.
That's a good point.
I rate it quite highly. It's really good.
Well, I will try it next time, and we'll see what happens.
Excellent.
And if I end up talking,
you could run your next rant through it. It'll be quite fun.
I've often been accused of, because of the pauses I insert into my sentences, of being a little too William Shatner-esque. So if I'm doing it there, right there. I was being William Shatner. I was pausing just a bit. And if I sound a little too much like William Shatner, it's because I used the computer to read it back and confirm that it sounded okay to me. So there you go.
Of course, there is another accessibility feature that I didn't mention, but which is related to this, which is custom voice, whereby you can train your phone, for instance, to speak, but using your own trained custom voice. So that could be really good for speaking back selected text if you also enable that, because it'll be using your own voice or close to your own voice.
That is one of the most amazing accessibility features that Apple could have come up with. And frankly, I'm going to put a link in the show notes for all the different accessibilities, features that Apple has built into its operating systems. A wonderful page just detailing all of them. But this one is absolutely amazing. The functionality for folks who need it is stunning, but it also scares me a little. It scares me a little.
It depends how accurate it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's some of this kind of stuff.
It will get better. I mean, I think it was originally designed for, say, for instance, someone who is losing the ability to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can have their voice recordings and so on fed back into the computer to speak for them.
And for that, it's priceless. Feature. Absolutely priceless.
Absolutely priceless. Yeah, I mean, there's as you were saying earlier on, for dedicated equipment. There is dedicated equipment for this sort of thing, but it costs like $30,000 or whatever. So what you're talking about here is something built into the operating system of a consumer product that can take over the functions of some of these astoundingly expensive dedicated products.
Yeah. You can, I mean, the most famous example that I think we can all think of is Stephen Hawking. Imagine
Stephen Hawking,
if
yeah, absolutely.
he had the ability to record or have a device learn his voice before he lost the ability to speak, and then to be able to continue to converse in his own voice for the remainder of his life is just, I mean, it can bring tears to your eyes to think about something like that. And that, as we said, it's absolutely priceless technology, amazing technology that Apple has come up with, and so many people are going to benefit from it. What I meant was I'm a little hesitant at this point to record my own voice and have the computer learn it and speak in my voice, because at this point I still can use it, and I don't know, I just it's weird to have the computer speaking to me in my voice, so I'm not quite sure I want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it can be useful, perhaps. Say, for instance, you decided to send out a little quick note into the stream as just a bit of recorded audio to say that you are currently busy doing Mac stock and there won't be
I'm
a
not
show
doing
for
that.
a few weeks.
I'm not putting out a
Then you
record.
could,
If I'm going to do that, I'm going to use my
you
own
can have the
voice.
Mac generate that for you.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Because it's only a short little announcement, so rather you wouldn't want to do a whole show. Of course, we couldn't possibly.
And then
actually
someone
replace
transplants
Mike
it
with,
into an Android, and suddenly I'm no longer relevant, and the Android has taken over my life.
Oh no,
and
no, no, no! We can't have
going to work on my
AI
behalf and talking to
replacing.
my clients, and
Oh no, no, no! They can't do that. AI is not that good yet.
it's getting there.
We're
It's
safe
getting there.
so far.
All right, I have a story to tell about this next one. So
Fabulous.
at MacStock, one of my attendees, Steve, came up to me and he said, "Hey, I want to show you this. This is really cool." He was using a feature, it's a combination feature with the AirPods and your iPhone called Live Listen. Now, the AirPods are listening to what's going on and enhancing it and clarifying it for you as you're listening. He was using this in the context of understanding what the presenters were saying, right? Sometimes with conference centers, audio can be muddled or what have you. Well, he was using Live Listen to better understand what was being said through his AirPods, but also simultaneously getting a little transcript at the bottom of his iPhone screen to display what was being said so he could follow along. Now, that little display doesn't last forever, but if there was something that he missed, he can hit rewind. I think you can go back 10 seconds. You just tap, back 10 seconds, and it will replay the audio that you just heard and re-list the transcript. Amazing. And the very first thing that I thought of was a family member who is currently having some hearing difficulties, and she does have some new hearing aids. And it turns out, and this is very important in the context of the story, it turns out that the new hearing aids that she has are compatible with iPhone. So awesome. They will link via Bluetooth to her iPhone, and that's super important to the next bit of the story. So I came home and I was telling my wife about this, how Steve was using Live Listen at MacStock and how I thought it might benefit this family member. And simply by mentioning that this feature existed, this family member decided to research it on her own, and instead of ending up on Live Listen, which would have worked for her, she ended up on Live Captions. And Live Captions is a little bit different because it doesn't require AirPods or hearing aids. It simply uses the microphones on the iPhone to listen to what's going on in the room. And that's one functionality of it, and that's the important one in this context. But it can also live caption things that are happening within apps running on your phone. It's two different modes. You can listen to what's in the room, or you can have it caption what's happening on the apps on your phone. Well, in her case, she wanted to listen to what's going on in the room because prior to learning about this, she was using whiteboards because she just can't hear clearly enough. So she was
Wow.
not only
Oh, what a
using a
difference.
whiteboard in the house, but she was taking this whiteboard with her to the store and needing
Wow.
to have the person wanting to communicate with her write a message on the board, hand it to her, and then she
Wow.
could respond verbally to it because her hearing aids were not working like they should. And they're still trying to
Yeah.
figure that out, but the whiteboard situation was just not sustainable. Once we learned about live listen, and then she discovered live captions, everything changed. Everything changed
Fabulous.
because now all she needs to do is from within her control center, she added a button for live captions. She
Oh,
taps the
fabulous. Just
button,
swipe down, tap it. There you go.
swipe down, tap it, live captions turn on. And unlike live listen, where you're getting enhanced audio through the AirPods, you're only seeing the text. You're only seeing the transcription of what's happening in the room. And it's a bigger font, which is even better. The live listen font is very tiny, and the live captions font is much larger. So this has been
Oh, that's
just
good.
a boon for her to have this.
Wow.
And it's only been a week. because
Sounds
we-
like a life-changing option there.
Yeah. We just
Fabulous.
learned about this at Max Talk a couple weeks ago. I had no idea that this existed. Maybe if I had thought to do the topic of the show at some point in the past, I would have researched it and found it. But to be able to discover this and share it with a family member who can benefit from it is just phenomenal. And it's really, really changed how things are happening within that household and as she goes out and about. So live listen or live captions, both of which are available in iOS, are phenomenal. And you can add buttons. Live captions, by the way, is under accessibility, and where is it? Accessibility, and then in the hearing section, it's called live captions. And if you go in there and just turn it on, you can turn it on or off from the control center if you want to, or you can turn it on or off from the accessibility functionality of it. And then live listen. Oh, shoot. Where is live listen? I already lost where that is. It's under audio and visual. So under accessibility and then audio and visual, there is live listen. And again, that's what works in conjunction with your AirPods. By the way, let's not forget to mention the hearing aid functionality of AirPods. That
Absolutely. Yeah.
$200 hearing aids? Oh my gosh, this is unheard of. And yet for those who can benefit from it, the AirPods can work as hearing aids. But accessibility, audio and visual, live listen, that's where you can turn that on. And then as far as the live captions, it's also under hearing, or it's under hearing and live captions, and you can turn it on. You can change the appearance. You can tell it how long you want to keep the captions going. And as I mentioned, but kind of hinted at, it works with the apps on your phone, so you can use it during phone calls, which is big for her. You know, she needs to call a doctor
yes,
or needs
very
to
important.
call in
Absolutely.
whatever. Being able to have live captions on her phone from the other end of the conversation is just game changing. So that was my little story. Live listen and live captions, while incredibly useful for someone like Steve at a conference where there's lots of noise going on and you want to make sure you're hearing the presenter clearly enough to be able to use it in real life context like that is wonderful. So that is live
Fabulous.
listen and live captions.
Yeah, live listens is useful. I know someone who uses it in context of often restaurants. So his hearing's pretty good. It's not like really affected, but it is really. I find this myself actually. Sometimes you're in a restaurant and it's quite loud. People are talking around you, but the person you're talking to is muddled up with the rest of the noise. So this can help to bring the person you're focusing on more to the front and put all the other audio to the back, as it were. to make it easier to understand the person you're talking to in a louder situation, especially restaurants.
It can really help save a marriage too when you're battling over how loud to have the television, and you can have your AirPod in and turn on live listen. Maybe you have the captions on, maybe you don't, but you can have live listen on to enhance the audio for the person who would like the volume to be a little bit louder, and not actually have the TV louder for the person who would not like to have it louder.
Perfect.
Yes,
Everyone can have their own audio, effectively.
Yeah, effectively, which is fantastic. I think there was at least one more thing on your list that you wanted to mention.
Uh-oh, this is where I have to look it up again.
Perhaps reduce motion?
Thanks for the hint. Excellent. Very good. Yes. Yes, that's one of the ones I've had turned on for a very long time. I don't really like the swishy animations as such within on the iPhone and the iPad. The animations are rather good, but they can take a little bit too long. Sometimes you can speed up or slow them down in some way. And the wibbly wobbly animations, exactly. So yes, I've always liked to have reduced motion turned on my iPhone and my iPad, and I find that really good. It doesn't entirely reduce all motion, which would be, that would be boring. Who would want to do that? But it does reduce the motion to the sort of motion I really they sort of pitched it perfectly for me. It's almost as if they've read my mind, like, this is the amount of motion that you would like, so choose this feature. So yes, I've had that turned on for a lot now. Strangely, I don't like that. I like the opposite on the Mac. So on the Mac side, I have all the motions. Excellent. I love the motions on the Mac, but on the iPhone and the iPad, I always have reduced motion turned on.
And let's see, did you mention where that is found? Where is reduced motion found? I believe that
is somewhere
under display.
This is where I have to
I believe it's under
grab
display.
my phone. Where are we? Let's see.
No, it's not
It is
under
an
display.
accessibility thing. I think it is. Yeah. Oh, that's reduced transparency. Where is reduced?
Oh, it's under motion. Okay.
Oh, it's on motion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's its own tab. So there's a whole motion tab, and you can customize various things in there. But I pretty much only turn on the reduced motion feature overall. And also, I don't like animated images automatically playing, so I turn that off as well. But yeah, there's quite a few little tweaks that you can tweak in that menu. So that it has its own motion menu on the accessibility menu, on iOS at least, and for the iPad too.
And while we are in that motion menu, let's go ahead and mention something that Eric brought up. Eric wrote, because he couldn't join us today, he said, one thing I have been using for a while and heartily recommend is vehicle motion cues. The benefit of turning it on is the theory is it reduces motion sickness because little dots appear near the edge of your screen and they move with the vehicle motion. And because those dots on your screen move with the vehicle motion, it's supposed to reduce motion sickness. So,
it kind of tricks your brain, I believe, into thinking that the motion you're feeling matches the motion you're looking at. So then you don't get sick. Well, it's amazing that it works.
It's actually it's something available on the Mac as well, because many people might have, you may have a MacBook
laptops
in the car with you. Or on the train or wherever you might get motion sick. And on the Mac, you will find it in that same section as reduced motion. So it's under accessibility and then motion and then vehicle motion cues. And that's where you can turn it on, and then you can customize the appearance of it. You can make the pattern regular or dynamic. You can change the color of it. You can make larger dots or more dots. And that is the intention of that under macOS. And then under iOS, it's under accessibility, motion, and again, vehicle motion cues. And once you turn this on, as Eric says, he can now read on his iPhone in a car without feeling ill. So, yeah, that is huge, and it's another accessibility feature that can benefit everybody by just turning it on. I know my daughter could benefit from this as well. And yeah, that's vehicle motion cues. And then the other thing that Eric mentioned is something that I don't use, but he said that he always uses 3-finger drag on the trackpad, and that's another great feature, and you will find it under accessibility, pointer control, trackpad options, and then use trackpad for dragging. And then once you enable use trackpad for dragging, in his case, he changes the dragging style to 3-finger drag, which he finds incredibly useful for day-to-day use of his Mac. And then, while we're talking about Eric, we have one more from him. The other thing he uses on the iPhone is the back tap. Oh, yeah, back tap is a great tip. A lot of folks mention back tap. In his case, he taps 2 times on the back to bring up the Apple TV remote and 3 times to bring up the magnifier, which we talked about earlier. This is controlled on the iPhone under accessibility, touch, and then back tap. And then once you're in there, you can, there's 2 different options. One is for double tap, one is for triple tap, and there's a wide variety of options in there. As he says, his double tap he's set to do the Apple TV remote, and the triple tap he sets to do magnifier. So that's I forget about that the tapping on the back of the phone exists.
Yeah.
And that would be incredibly handy to quickly pull up something you need to get to all the time without unlocking the phone and blah, 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 doing all the stuff you have to do to get to it. Boom. Now you can do it with a double tap or a triple tap. So
I think that's the only problem. There's so many of these really cool features. Some of them are hidden deep in menus, and you may not discover them. The discoverability of things is kind of tricky sometimes. I mean, even we can forget what functions and features are available on devices.
We're sitting here searching through settings as we're describing them because we can't quickly or easily find them. And it's just where we are in the state of iOS and macOS at the moment. But speaking of things that are a little buried, I did want to mention background sounds. So a lot of folks get white noise apps for their iPhone or for their Mac to kind of play gentle background sounds. I have one that I've had for a long time called Coffeetivity, and I almost made it the essential app this week, but things have changed with the app. There is still an open source version of it, but it doesn't quite work as well as the old version that I still have on my Mac. And then there's a paid subscription, so you get all these different sounds through a website and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to mention it. It's Coffeetivity. Go look it up. It's cool. But there are background sounds built into the Mac,
into the OS,
and the iPhone. Yeah. And on the Mac, they're under accessibility and then audio. And that is where you can turn on background sounds. And when you turn on background sounds, you can click a button, choose, and there are a ton in there to choose from. Just to rattle off a few here, we have the stock background sounds you might want: balanced noise, bright noise, dark noise. But you also have ocean, rain, stream, night, fire, babble, I guess babbling brook, right? Steam, airplane, boat, bus, train, rain on roof, quiet night. All of these are options within the background sounds, and you can turn them on right from within the accessibility audio menu. You can adjust the volume of the background sound. You can enable an equalizer to personalize your listening experience. This is quoting Apple. Personalize your listening experience to minimize distractions. You can enable a timer to choose how long you would like the background sounds to play. And you can turn off background sounds when your Mac is not in use. So super, super cool. Built right into the Mac, and I think a lot of people don't realize that it's there. And then likewise on the phone, you're going to find it under accessibility and audio and visual, and very much the same as what you can do with it on the Mac. I think the Mac is a little bit more functional, if I recall. Let me look at audio and visual on the phone. I'm going to have to search for it. Oh, there it is. Audio and visual, background sounds. Okay, yeah, well, actually, there's just as many background sounds there as there are on the Mac. You can enable it, disable it, you can adjust the volume. Here's a feature that you don't have on the Mac. You can use it while media is playing. So even with media playing, you can have the background sounds continue, and then you can adjust the volume with the media. There is also a stop sounds with a timer and an equalizer, and then also a stop sounds when locked. So actually it is very much like the Mac version of it, and it's right under accessibility and audio and visual. And again, I'm betting that there's a control center icon you can enable for that as well, so you can quickly get to it if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I was going to ask, and I definitely don't know the answer to this, but I think we might have to review the situation again when, of course, Siri AI comes out, and some other options for like making custom shortcuts and so on. Triggering some of these things, like for instance, background sounds, rather than trying to find them in settings, whether you can ask Siri to turn features like that on, so like turn on rain sounds or something like that. I think that sort of thing is accessible through Siri, but I'd have to try and figure out the right incantation currently. But that's going to improve, I think, when iOS 27 comes out. We'll probably have to review how that works at a later stage when all the new lovely operating system options come out.
Two comments about that. I think you hit the nail on the head when you were talking about automating the process, and what you would probably want to do is automate it along with a custom focus mode. So create your custom focus mode and have that automatically enable the background sounds. And then two, I did verify while we were talking there that there is indeed a control center button for it, so you can just quickly tap on or off background sounds.
That's good.
And, you know, like a lot of folks, Brian in the chat room wrote, I'm going to have to check out these background sounds. I didn't even realize these were here. And I think that's kind of the point of this conversation is, a lot of us just don't realize that all this functionality is here. It is there to benefit, or was created to benefit a particular audience, but it turns out it's stuff that can benefit all of us. Now, there is one I wanted to mention, which is just kind of cool. And I fully understand why it's there, but in terms of being able to interact with your Apple Watch, there is under accessibility, and this would be on the phone, Apple Watch mirroring. So you can mirror the display from your Apple Watch to your phone, and then control your watch. You can tap the crown, you can scroll the crown, you can push the little side button, you can open up apps, you can swipe down from the top, you can do all this stuff directly from your phone's screen. So pretty cool. It's a much larger version of your Apple Watch screen, so it makes it a little bit easier to interact with, and kind of a cool feature. So that's under accessibility and Apple Watch mirroring. Now, because the watch is a touch interface, it's not something that you're going to find on current models of Mac, unless the alleged touchscreen Macs come out, which I still question whether that's going to happen or not. Oh, they say it's going to, but
Yeah, I question that as well. I've never been much of a touchscreen fan. In fact, in my last job a few years ago, there was someone that insisted on the fact that they needed a touchscreen expensive monitor. they bought it or they had it bought for them.
Never used it.
Never used it.
Never.
The thing is, yeah, they only found out though 3 months later when I was next to them on the desk and I touched a cell in a spreadsheet, and they were, why did the cell move? And well, did you realise that you bought that highly vital touchscreen that you've never used? Do you remember that?
That you had to have.
Yes, they had to have it.
We hope they're not listening. So this is under the iPhone's accessibility settings, Apple Watch mirroring. Pretty cool. Check it out if you get a chance. So
that's a really good feature, actually. That really makes me think, actually, because one of the things I wondered was how to help someone who has an Apple Watch, because for instance, one of the things I do is my little side hustle is to help people, often using remote desktop. And one of the things I've recently been doing is being able to help people with their iPhones now, which I couldn't do before because we can use iPhone mirroring. But now, perhaps, and it's only just come to me when you said this, because I didn't even realize this existed, that, well, perhaps we can use Apple Watch mirroring to the iPhone to iPhone mirroring to the Mac to help people with their Apple Watch remotely.
interesting.
It's just something I've never thought of, but there's an option, a possible angle there to be able to help people with Apple Watches. I do have a couple of people on my books that would be potential customers for wanting to benefit from what an Apple Watch can do for them.
Well, your
So
task, should you choose to accept it, Darren,
yes, so it's to see if that actually works.
to see if that actually works, because I am now really curious if that actually works. So check it out, test it with a client, and see what happens.
It would be doubling up on the remote desktop.
Yeah, well, it's like
situation.
double natting your network, right? Yeah, it works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've done double remote desktops before to several things. So I don't see it. It might be very much different. It might actually even be crazy enough to work. Let's give it a go.
Give it a go. Give it a go, and report back. Tell us what happens.
Back.
You have 24
see
hours
if I
to
can
figure
do
it out.
Oh wow.
Well, all right. I have one more I would like to mention. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up before we wrap up this
I'm not
conversation?
Sure. I think there might just have been one, but that's I don't entirely know where the setting is. So, but
That would
it's
be a
an option. That could be a problem. But it can be quite handy. So sometimes people can have trouble trying to press the right buttons in the right places, and they may not be able to do some gestures very well. And in that case, there is an option in one of the accessibility settings, which I know not where it is, but in one of the settings in there, there is an option to have an on-screen home button. And from there, you can access things to control other things as well. So that can be handy. And when you turn it on, it's quite fun, because it in a similar way to a floating picture-in-picture window, it's a floating home button, which you can move around. So that can be really handy for motor and accessibility
Absolutely.
type things. So when you find a gesture being quite difficult, and sometimes some of the button gymnastics that you may have to do, that I would find reasonably straightforward, but some people may have trouble with, having a floating on-screen home button can be a really useful thing to be able to just visually be able to choose between multiple functions and features.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there are so many different ways of interacting with our devices that can be difficult for everyone to accomplish. For example, when I'm asked to approve something on my Apple Watch, double-clicking the side button doesn't always work, and I'm sitting there double click, I'm double-clicking it, gosh darn it, and it's not working. And I can understand and empathize with the frustration that people would have trying to do something like that. And so a simple bit of functionality of floating a home button on screen, just to make life easier for someone who has trouble swiping up or, what have you to get to that home screen is huge.
And sometimes it's just the ability to remember what button combination there is or gesture combination there is. If there's an on-screen home button, you cannot miss what or misremember what's there, what's behind the button, because it's visual.
Well, there are just a ton of accessibility features. We barely scratched the surface of them. There is one I want to mention because I've just kind of fallen in love with this feature because there are so many situations where this would be incredibly useful. And this is called assistive access is what it's called. And one of the presenters at MaxTech used this in the context of working with individuals who are a bit overwhelmed with all the different apps and buttons and things on their iPhone screen and just want a much more simplified user interface. And then there's also the context of feeling as if you can safely hand a phone over to a young child and know that they're not going to get in trouble with it, right? You want them to have an iPhone. You want them to have the functionality and the freedom that an iPhone can afford them, but freedom with some limitations because you don't want them to accidentally get into trouble by getting into the wrong thing, as it were. So assistive access can actually benefit a wide range of individuals, and setting it up is very, very easy. So what it does is it creates a unique and very simplified interface for the iPhone. And you can either present the interface to the person as very large icons on screen, like a grid of icons, or you can present it as a list of icons of apps that you choose to be available to that person. And you're going to find this under accessibility and then assistive access. And as you go in there, you have to set it up for the first time. Once it's set up for the first time, you can enable it or disable it on the fly. And I actually took a number of screenshots because setting it up does involve quite a few steps. So I thought I'd go through some of these steps just to kind of explain what the process is like for folks. But for someone who can benefit from the ability to hand an iPhone to somebody, but with certain limitations in place, this is where you want to be. So the very first step is to set up assistive access, and you just tap set up assistive access, and it tells you this is to select the apps and customize the options for the person who will be using assistive access on this iPhone. And as you go through, it will say, okay, this phone is associated with a particular iCloud account. Is that correct? This is going to be the primary user of this device. That sound cool? Okay, Apple doesn't say does that sound cool, but does that sound cool? Yeah, this is cool. This is the primary Apple account for this device. So you move on to the next step, and it asks you, do you want to present a grid of apps or a row of apps? And I'll be honest, the grid of apps is pretty cool. I would say go with the grid of apps because it looks cool, but you can change it later. One thing about rows is that there's a little increase in the size of text. So that's kind of cool. Grid, the icons are more prominent. So it really depends on who you're working with. If larger text is important, go with rows. If larger icons are important, go with the grid. And then it says, let's optimize. Let's optimize the phone for assistive access. And this is where you select the apps that you want to appear. And by default, it just goes ahead and shows you all the... What the heck was that? What the heck was that?
That was a motorbike whizzing past outside.
My goodness. Anyway, I thought the UFO was coming down to take you away, Darren.
The black helicopters were coming down to
Anyway, okay. So it shows you a list of apps that are optimized for assistive access. Now, that means that these particular apps might have features that you can customize to work better with assistive access. And for example, on my phone, when I went to set this up and I was taking the screenshots, things like making calls, the camera, the magnifier, messages, photos, and the TV app were all listed as apps that were optimized for assistive access. And then you just click the little green plus next to the ones you want to add to it. Simple. And then underneath it, there's a list of apps that have not been adapted for assistive access, but you can still add to it. So if there's something that you want the person to be able to access, but maybe you understand it's not going to be optimized for this experience, cool, you can still add that app to the assistive access screen. Then it takes you on to say, here are some differences in how iOS features work when you have assistive access enabled. One, emergency services. This is important. You're handing this to someone who may or may not need emergency services, depending on why you're setting up assistive access for them. Well, to access emergency services, you triple click the side button to activate emergency calling. Notifications from apps. App notifications appear as badges. So that's important to know. And then app privacy information, data access permissions, and status icons such as location indicators may not be available. So those are just a couple things that they want you to know when you enable assistive access. Then to exit, they tell you how to exit assistive access. And this is interesting because they just tell you that triple clicking the side button. So I've not tested this. Triple clicking the side button accesses emergency calling, but then they tell you triple click the side button to enter the assistive access passcode to turn it off. Okay, so I'm going to presume for a moment here, and I should have tested this, and I'm sorry I didn't before recording, but I'm going to presume it's going to be like shutting down your phone. You have the option to call SOS, or to shut down the phone.
Yeah.
So I'm going to presume
show medical ID in a slider and so on.
That you have the option to either call emergency services or exit assistive access. And there is a point where they prompt you to enter the code that you want to disable it or enable it. And there you go. So that's how you set it up. And then the person has a nice, clean, simplified experience of working with the iPhone. And you can even set limits in terms of, what kind of sites can they visit, or who can they contact with messages, who can they contact with the phone. You can limit it to contacts, their contacts only. You can limit it to anyone that, depending on who they may or may not need to reach with the phone. So there's little granular controls that you can set as you're going through this. And, if you find that you didn't set it quite right, you just go back in and modify things later. But assistive access is a really, really cool way to tone down the sometimes overwhelming iPhone experience and hand it to somebody. And again, small children are a great example. Hand it to somebody who doesn't need all that complication, or you want to limit the type of access that they have with the phone. So assistive access, which you will find under accessibility, and enable it in there. So that is my last accessibility feature that I wanted to share this episode.
Excellent.
Yeah. So I think what we're discovering, Darren, is that there are an incredible number of accessibility features that Apple has taken the time to bake into the operating system of our Apple devices. Again, not as an afterthought, but as a means to ensure that anyone and everyone who wants to use a Mac or an iPhone or any other Apple device will have the tools that are necessary to do so. Now, as Apple said, the best technology is designed with everyone in mind. But I think I would take it a step further and say the best technology or the best world to live in is designed with everyone in mind. So the question to the audience is, how do you use Apple's assistive technology? Is there a particular feature that you use and you love? Or, more importantly, when you use it, are you using it for the original intended purpose, or is it just another feature to make your Mac or iPhone easier to use for you? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments of this week's show notes, found at formaceyesonly.com. Well, I'm going to assume, Darren, that you don't have a quick tip this week.
Absolutely, yes. Your assumption is alas correct.
Well, I do have a quick tip for everyone, if
I'm
you
so
will
glad.
indulge me. And this quick tip has to do with adding an extension to a phone number for a contact in your address book. There is no extension field. There is no way to say this is the person's extension, yet extensions are still used in everyday life. So how do you add an extension that allows you to still dial a number without error? Well, first, don't add an X or EXT or anything like that, because making something up to help you remember that there's an extension is only going to cause confusion when you actually attempt to dial that number. Instead, what you want to do is, in the phone number field, go ahead and type the phone number, and then enter a semicolon. Enter a semicolon, and then the extension. By entering a semicolon, you're actually telling the iPhone to wait during the dial process. And by telling it to wait, what happens is a little button's going to pop up on screen that says dial, and then the extension number that you put on that number. That's going to appear on screen, and it's going to simply wait for you to push that button, and then it will boop the numbers on command. Super cool. Now, to take this tip one step further, what if you know how long it takes before the other end prompts for an extension? We used to do this all the time. I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day, we used to do this next part of the tip all the time. In that case, instead of putting in a semicolon, which would provide the prompt, the button to dial the extension on command, what you can do is you can put in a comma instead. By adding a comma before the extension, you're actually telling the iPhone to wait 2 seconds before automatically dialing the extension. And for every comma that you add, the iPhone will wait another 2 seconds. So put in 4 commas, it's going to wait 8 seconds. Put in 5 commas, it's going to wait 10 seconds. Put in 1 comma, it's going to wait 2 seconds. But if you know how long it takes before it starts prompting for the extension, you can simply put in a series of commas for it to pause until it automatically dials the extension for you. But if you want to be prompted, because their phone tree is unwieldy as heck, use the semicolon instead. And that is this episode's quick tip.
Fabulous tip.
And we're going to wrap things up with this episode's essential app. Look, I will admit, I keep what some might consider to be a messy desktop. It makes sense to me. I'll admit it makes sense to me. But to others, well, let's just say it might send folks like Darren running for the peaceful tranquility of the rolling green hills. I get it. Not everyone wants to see the mess that is my desktop. In fact, in the earliest days of For Mac OS Only, I actually made a demo video, and one of the only comments that I received on that video was, you should turn off the drive icons on your desktop.
Oh, I like those. I have those turned on mine.
I know, but, look, the few icons...
Mind you, I only have 4 icons on my desktop, so there you go.
You definitely don't want to know how many icons I have on my desktop then. Now, here's the thing. The few icons sitting on my desktop bugged that person so much that they felt the need to comment on it. Like I said, I get it. So now, whenever I opt to share my desktop or record a demonstration video, I always turn on this episode's essential app, which is Desktop Curtain by Manytrix. Now,
Nice.
while this is an amazingly simple app on the surface, because it does do exactly what I need it to do and it does it perfectly, there's actually a lot of complexity to it, because once you activate it, the curtain can, one, literally be a curtain, which is the default image. It's a red curtain like you might see in a movie theater or something. Or it can be an image of your choosing. It can be your wallpaper, or it can be a solid color. So there's a lot of choices you have for setting what the curtain shall be on top of the mess that is my desktop. But where the magic comes in is that the curtain, to hide the, well, let's just say complexity, that is your desktop, the curtain can be placed behind the icons on your desktop, so it acts like a desktop image. It can be placed on top of your desktop icons, hiding the clutter, and this is actually my preference. It can be placed behind the frontmost application. So in other words, if you have a lot of applications running, you can not only hide what's on your desktop, you can hide all the other apps that are open. So that's pretty cool. Or it can be placed within the normal stack of all the open windows. So, you know, as windows are overlapping each other, it can be part of that stack. Now, the other cool thing, and I do use this all the time for those who like to quickly access the items that are on the desktop using Mission Control, you can optionally hide Desktop Curtain when entering Mission Control. So I will often drag stuff from my desktop into something I'm working on, in which case I need to be able to access it. So I will have, if I hit Mission Control, I will have Desktop Curtain hide, momentarily exposing the mess, so I can grab that icon and move it out. Although I will admit these days I don't do that quite so much. If I know that there's something I want to work on in a particular demo, I will put it in a Finder folder off to the side, and I'll just grab it out of that Finder folder instead of leaving it on my desktop. But just know that the option exists. And one more thing, as all handy-dandy apps like this should allow, you can run Desktop Curtain as a standard application. You can run it as a menu bar icon, or you can set it to be completely invisible. And you can also control it with various hotkeys to toggle visibility, to isolate the front window, or even enable a boss key, which covers everything, including the dock and command tab switcher. Now, look, in the old days, boss keys used to throw a spreadsheet up on your screen, right?
Absolutely.
The boss key of Desktop Curtain hides everything except for your desktop wallpaper. So I would argue that any smart boss would question a completely blank desktop devoid of icons and windows, but who am I to say?
That almost looks too suspicious.
It looks a little too suspicious. Still, Desktop Curtain is incredibly handy, and at only $5, it's $5, Darren. For $5, it is a steal of a deal for an app that does as much as it does. Desktop Curtain is made by Manytrix, as I mentioned, and they coincidentally happen to be the makers of some other future essential apps. And you will find them at manytrix.com/desktop curtain. So that is my essential app this week, Darren.
Brilliant. Yeah, that sounds like something that could be used. I mean, for instance, if you're doing a bit of a screen recording, that sort of thing, it could be used in conjunction with screen recordings. That sounds fabulous. Yeah, I'd have to check that out.
I have been a Desktop Curtain user for ages. I can't even count how many years I've been a Desktop Curtain user. I absolutely love it, and I've come to depend upon it. I load it up every time I'm about to give a demonstration because I learned how much people dislike the clutter. Plus, you know what? There is stuff on my desktop that people really shouldn't see. And that's kind of the point.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
You need some privacy, just a little bit of privacy.
You run stuff like Desktop Curtain, keep things clean, keep things neat, and keep the focus. Here's the important part. Keep the focus of your audience on your presentation, not on that icon of Mickey Mouse in the corner. So there you go. And with that said, that is going to do it for this episode of For Mac Guys Only. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, I do love to get your letters. So if you have a comment about the show, a tip to share, a software or hardware problem with your Mac, be sure to leave your favorites in the comments of this week's show notes found at formacguysonly.com, or you can drop me a line, Mike at formacguysonly.com. And do be sure to subscribe to the show's YouTube channel at youtube.com/FMEOTV. And click that little notification bell so you can find out when we are going live. You can join the chat room, and you can catch all the behind-the-scenes stuff that doesn't make the final cut of the show. Hey, Darren, if someone wants to reach you, what's the best way for them to do so?
Perfect, yes. If someone wants to reach out to me, they can send an email to darren@formacisonly.com.
Amazing. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks to Darren for joining me this episode, and thanks to everyone in the chat room. Thanks to Brian and but mostly Disney, and we had somebody else too, didn't we? Thanks to everyone who joined us in there, because I can't seem to scroll back far enough. But thanks to everyone who joined us in the chat room today. Stay subscribed, and we'll talk to you next time. All right, and with that, that shall be a wrap. Darren?
Fabulous.
Yes, fabulous. And I do have, let's see, our next episode shall be on August 9th. August 9th, so 2 weeks from today will be our next episode. And I do have one special guest lined up, and hopefully another one too. And we'll give a little rundown of Mac stock this year. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, perfect. Where am I? What am I doing? Oh, here we are. Right, August 9th. Right. Yes, there we are. Yes, perfect.
You got to
Just
click that
confirming.
other essential app. You got to click the other essential app, Darren. ItzyCal. Remember ItzyCal? You got to get ItzyCal up in your menu bar. I know you don't like stuff in your menu bar, but you got to get ItzyCal up in your menu bar.
Well, what I've done, I used to have, I've minimized the apps a little bit more on my dock. So I used to have the calendar on there. So what I've done instead, because I have a calendar widget on my desktop now, so that by clicking the calendar widget, that lets me launch the app without having the app in my dock. So I save a little bit of screen space there and only have it available that way. But that's quite handy, because it means I can still get to my calendar from any of my virtual desktops. And I don't have to take up dock space. So I'm trying to slim down my dock usage rather than have 490,000 items in the dock.
That's right, because the widgets, as much as I detest widgets, on the desktop, I like widgets in the notification center, but as much as I don't like widgets on the desktop, I mean, okay, it's Confabulator all over.
I know what you mean.
Again.
I used to yes, I used to like the old days where the screen used to float from behind your head
Dashboard.
onto dashboard and
Dashboard
have a layer
was awesome.
of widgets on there. I loved Dashboard.
Yeah.
And when they started to integrate widgets onto the desktop, I was a late convert, but I'm a slight convert now for them. So I've only got 3 on there, so it's quite minimal. But it's really handy to see the battery level of all the devices attached, including my headphones.
Yes.
So that's a really nice one. And I have the time in your time zone, so I can check when I should be on between 6 and 7 o'clock p.m. here. But
I have all that too, but it's in my notification center. It's out of the way. So
but mine,
here's
just
one
live on
request.
the desktop. I find it really, really useful.
I know it's not going to make it in Snow Tahoe, but here's my one request, Apple. Allow me to, so widgets tend to stick and remain through all your desktops. So you have multiple virtual desktops.
Indeed,
the
yes,
same widgets
yes.
are on all the desktops.
Yeah.
Give me the ability
You'd like them
to
be individual. Yeah.
Yes. Give me the ability to limit widgets to a single virtual desktop and not
Particular
have them on my primary. And then you know what I would have? Dashboard.
Good point. Good point. Good point.
Yep.
Well made. Yes.
Yeah, but alas, I have zero pull at Cupertino.
I've become a recent convert of having those on the desktop.
Yeah.
I quite like them now.
I get that. I get that. So, all right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up this live stream. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's been a blast. I really enjoyed all the comments. It's been fantastic having you here. And I think we will bid adieu, Darren.
Indeed. Right. No worries.
Indeed.
Cheerio.
So, all right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. And I'll be right back with you in just a moment, Darren. Bye, everyone.
Cool. Cheers.